Welcome to So Guided, a spiritual travel guide for the curious. Join Carissa and Jenny, ordinary people exploring all the extraordinary ways we can connect to the universe. Each week, they investigate another spiritual modality and adventure through all the wild ways we can find high vibes, hope, and ultimately, enlightenment.
Hello and welcome to another episode of So Guided. Today we are diving into tinctures. And oops, we signed up for a witch retreat, and that's how we found out about them. So let's dig in. You've got questions, so do we. Let's do this. Hello, it's Carissa and Jenny. Welcome to So Guided. Gonna kick it off with a weekly woo-woo. We have been talking about signs, and one of the things that came up that neither of us were drawn to was smells.
Nope.
So my weekly woo is not too exciting, but I will tell you, I've been smelling things. I woke up in the middle of the night, I'm not even lying, and I smelled like a match. And it wasn't like a fire, but it literally smelled like someone had like lit a match. And I looked around and it actually freaked me out. But I smelled it. And there's no follow-up to that because I have no idea what it meant or anything. But that happened. And I was like, and I thought of obviously us and the universe. And I was like, what does this mean?
Okay, what's that?
Yeah.
Is there an entity?
No idea. I said,
is
not
it a
sure.
Message? Right. All right. I like it.
Yeah, but it's...
Well, I told you, we said to ourselves, let's pay attention to everything. So
yes.
Admittedly, we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, mine is actually my dad's that I hope he doesn't mind I'm passing along. But I love that this happened to him. And it makes me happy when people who don't normally look for signs are like, yay, it's a sign. So my dad is newly retired, and he's been thinking about starting a passion project business, which is woodworking and crafting. He needs this big, special, certain kind of saw to get the project done.
Okay.
So he's been talking about it, but it's super expensive, so it means you really have to invest in it. So he was sitting at a bar the other day, and by the way, he doesn't sit at bars often. This isn't normal for my dad. It was like a Friday night fun night kind of. I think he was with my brother, and he was talking about the saw he needed, and a gentleman 2 seats down said, hey, I actually have that saw and I'm going to sell it. It's brand new. I don't need it anymore. And not only did he have the specific make and model that my dad needed, he lived 2 doors down to the establishment they were at. So my dad got all the signs and he's like, all right, well, this is meant to be. So he bought it, and there you go. He's going to start his business, and the universe told him to do it.
Oh my God. Cool? Talk about being so guided. He was still a woodworker. I love that.
So cute.
Good. Well, we have a fun episode today. We're going to talk today about tinctures. So I'm not sure if people are aware of tinctures. We were not. We was not something that was in our vocabulary. But tinctures are essentially plant essence that you take, and they can help you, basically fill a void or, take the energy of the plants. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what that actually is, but we wanted to kind of share how this came on our radar because it's a pretty funny story. And then we are going to have a chat with a woman who is actually a tincture person and creates them. And so we're going to share kind of what she says and tells us about those tinctures, and then try some too.
Okay.
So just to kick it off, wanted to share the story of how this came into our environment. And it was years ago. So, right? I mean, this is going on 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, this is, I have to my disclaimer before I even tell it is we never wanted to tell this story.
Yeah, we were never going to tell the story.
This is probably one of the things that planted the seed to even explore all the funny stuff. So we're about to tell you an adventure we went on. That uncovered tinctures, and it was, I don't know, 3 years ago.
Yeah. And
2 years ago.
It was even before everything. It was very,
right.
And Jenny and I wanted to do a weekend away, like a girls' weekend.
Let's be honest. We wanted to get away from life.
Yeah,
right.
We wanted to.
It's girl time.
But we want a girls' weekend, and we were going to do something fun, like Miami, or do something cool. But instead, we somehow stumbled upon an intuition weekend where you can get connected to your intuition. And we're like, oh, that's cool. And again, this is well before we did any really even reading the books or like thinking about being guided, all this, anything. So we're like, oh, this is neat, interesting. Like, let's check it out. Go to this intuition, learn about, and it'll be fun. So we signed up, and upon receiving the invitation, we actually get the website. It's like, congratulations, you're enrolled. We can't wait to see you at the witch retreat. And we're like, wait, what? And apparently, unbeknownst to us, we had signed up for a weekend away at like a witch retreat, and it was about healing the witch wound, which we had no idea what that meant. So we had no idea what we were getting into. And we're just like, oh goodness gracious. And we had already like paid the money, and we're like, we should be going to Miami, but whatever, we'll go do this witch retreat. And we went, and
wait. Before we went, we have to talk about what happened that week before. We didn't tell each other till the car ride there. I came up with 3 reasons to call you to tell you why I wasn't going to go.
I know.
And on the side, too. You were too.
I was dreading it.
What we were actually, you guys, we were totally dreading it. Like the minute. Well, first of all, if it was just intuitive retreat, I would have been weirded out that we even chose to do that.
I know.
But then to read those words, we were like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And like, we never get time away from our families. So like, why were we choosing this? And I was scared. Like, what did we get into? We just have to share that because it wasn't like we were going like with bells on. Yay, can't wait. We're like, what did we do?
Well, and we also, to add to that, it was basically in someone's like barn, in like a house. Like, we're not even like a really cushy hotel or anything. So it was really outside of our comfort zone. And we don't get away often enough that it was just, we're like, oh my God, where are we going? What are we doing? And so we drove up north a couple of hours over the river through the woods into this legit farm where this thing was being hosted. And I will say, it was quite an experience. The whole thing was an experience, and the experience itself wasn't as witchy as I thought it was going to be. Like, I don't even know what I thought when I heard the word witchy, but I mean, there was some dancing around and like, there was like some singing, there was like looking into people's eyes, but like there was actually a lot of like downtime and like just like walks and being in nature. And like I said, I was even kind of like, where's like the witchy part, in some
they could have actually amped up the witch stuff and I would have been fine.
Yeah, once we got there. Right. And I think what we did kind of find is that the other women that were there were fascinating, successful, very cool, very interesting people. And so what we ended up gaining from this whole experience was this group of women that were like, wow, this is super cool. There was other corporate America people like me. There was other creative people like you. And then there was like what you might expect. People who, have
a couple of fringe outliers.
Yeah. Like
a couple of like white witch wonderful people. I mean, it really was all walks of life,
and
wasn't it?
But it was small too. It was a small group. It was like 8 people. So yeah.
No. There was like 15.
Really?
Oh, maybe I'm making it up.
I don't know.
Don't ask me numbers.
Don't ask me numbers. I don't know. It was small. In my head, it was 8. In her head, it was 15. Regardless. It was a small group. But fast forward. So me and Jenny, and this is like one of those things where, you're eating like clean and like, there's no alcohol.
We had to be quiet in the morning.
We were not allowed to talk. There was no talking in the morning. You couldn't talk. It was lights out by like 9 o'clock. So there's like all these like rules. Like I said, it was really strange. And not to mention that we had all these meals in a house that had cats, and I'm like allergic to cats. And I was like, where am I? I'm gonna like, I'd like beg someone for Claritin, the whole thing. We were like 2 hours away from civilization, so we couldn't get Claritin. But story for another time, like how repulsive that part was. But anyway, so me and Jenny, again, brought our own alcohol. We brought like a bottle of wine.
Bootleg wine.
We brought a bottle of wine, and there was like a loft in this barn. And the second night, we're sitting there and we're drinking wine and we're just enjoying and kind of talking about the day and talking about the different conversations we've had with other people. And one of the girls comes upstairs. She was actually kind of the helper teacher, so she's up there and we're just drinking wine. She's like, oh, what are you ladies doing? And we were actually just like, we were laughing and having fun. And she's like, oh, do you want some tinctures? And we're like, what? And she's like, oh, I make my own tinctures. Would you like some? And we're like, yeah, we don't even know what you're talking about, right? Like, we have no clue what it is. And she comes over and she has all these little glass jars and she puts them on the table.
She says, choose your adventure.
Yeah, she says, choose your adventure.
But this is the thing that I, like, to this day cannot get over, is that a woman handmade something and said, take something and put it on your tongue. And we're like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Anyway, I do have to share what's happening below us.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. Oh, no, I
This
remember.
is all right. This is the part of the story where we need your input. You tell us what happened to us next, by the way. We don't know. But what I will say was one of the people attending, who was wonderful and cool as could be, was probably one of the people that embraced being a witch more than anyone, was downstairs in the downstairs of the loft in the barn. And she was doing a meditation mantra hymn and making sounds and meditating very vocally while we were upstairs.
Very vocally. And it was, to pretend it wasn't uncomfortable, it was uncomfortable.
Yes,
but
we were just ignoring it.
But we were ignoring it and we were in our own zone.
And not judging.
Not
We're like,
judging.
oh, good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
But like, let me give you an example. Things were happening. Things were happening. But like, okay, but you have to understand that while we were there, this doesn't seem that out of place. So we're like, oh, cool, she's having her moment.
Yeah.
And that's neither here nor there to our tincture moment upstairs, just so you know. But this is happening down below.
Right.
Now we're brought upstairs and we get visited by the tincture fairy.
Yeah.
And she puts them ahead of us while this is happening down below.
Right, while there's chanting going on downstairs and moaning and chanting. And so she basically puts out a bunch of different things and she's like, pick which one you're drawn to. Like, choose your adventure, pick which one you're drawn to. And I don't even remember if it was like she's told us, like, this is rose or this is orange or this is clover.
I don't
She
think so.
basically just showed us the jars. And then she's like, and we picked it up and she's like, you know, put your hand over whichever one you feel drawn to. And I picked one. And Jenny picked one. And basically she's like, now just put it on your tongue and like close your eyes. And we both did. And we ended up picking different things. And I ended up picking rose. And I put it on my tongue and I closed my eyes. And I'm not kidding. I saw a vision. I went to a different place. And she even like saw me do it. When I opened my eyes, she was like, oh, welcome back. She's like, how was that?
It was like she could see through
you. It was like she was like
happening.
inside of me.
Right.
It was insane. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened? Like, it was so intense. And then you took yours and it wasn't that intense.
No, I closed my eyes and it was like, I just felt like, okay,
you're
nothing.
Nothing. Right.
Neither here nor there. And I was a little bit jealous of you.
Yeah. And it
was,
was
you actually, your face looked like you went somewhere. And like what you said,
she saw it and I felt it too. Like wild. I like literally closed my eyes and saw this entire vision. I didn't even feel like I was there. Like I had been transported into like a sea of flowers. Like it was insane. I had taken a rose essence. I could see roses. It was just a really trippy experience.
And it was a good trip.
And but it wasn't like a drugged out feeling, if we're being honest. It was like almost like a transport. Like I just went to another like, I don't want to say dimension. It just was really experiential in the fact that she noticed it was like super cool. So I was like, wow, what is this? This is insane. And she's like, oh, I make my own plant essence. I take this and we take them. And she's like, and there's different things and your body will know what you need. That's why, I intuitively let you pick it. And honestly, it was my favorite part of the whole retreat was this time with her and her kind of having us pick. But while we're doing this, it's like hilarious. So I'm basically going to another dimension. We're asking questions. And she's like a really charismatic, like wonderful woman who creates these, and we're just laughing.
We were having the best time.
And it was so much fun. And we had the giggles, and like the whole experience was kind of culminating. We'd had a glass of wine, whatever. So why we're giggling? Like the noise downstairs is getting louder. Is getting like so much louder.
Like it got angry.
It got angry. It got angry.
Like, I'm going to get you in your sleep angry.
It got so angry. It got so angry, and it was like creepy. It was like not creepy. I mean, it was a little creepy, but we were ignoring it, and we didn't know what was happening, and like we don't know like what we still to this day don't know like what was happening, what she was doing, but. It's this we're at intuitive retreat. Me and Jenny later did discuss, like we both had like a very weird feeling when the chanting was going on with the tinctures and everything. So like I said, there's a curfew. So honestly, we're having a great time. And all of a sudden it was like lights out. It was like freaking 9 o'clock at night. Like this is ridiculous. But anyways, we had to like go to bed and then we got up and we left in the morning. So, we're leaving. We have our 2-hour drive. And on our drive, all of a sudden, we're talking like a mile a minute. We're going on and on. We're like sharing stuff. And like, I look over at like Jenny and she's like dilated pupils. She's got the most dilated pupils I've ever seen. She has blue eyes. I literally see no blue. I see black eyes. She's like talking a mile a minute. And I'm like, oh my God. And Jenny's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm on drugs. And I'm like, what is happening? And then all of a sudden I feel the same way. I felt like where you get like tingling in your fingers and I'm like, and like the of like life. And it was just this, as we're driving, we're like, oh my God, we're like, can we not go back home? Like what,
we can't go home
what
like this.
happened? And so luckily we had a long drive, but it was still with us. And so basically, we'd love like any of your guys' input, but I think there's actually 3 things that could have happened. The first one could have been that after a long weekend, we didn't really integrate all of our learnings, and it was just like kind of like a big change to go from this very experiential witch-ish weekend to then back home, which some people say like you need to integrate when you do stuff like that. But I don't think it was as intense enough that I would have needed to do that.
The weekend wasn't intense.
It wasn't intense. What I didn't think, so I actually discount that one.
Okay.
And then the other 2 is like what are kind of where this is kind of where we've led to. Either the tinctures, and sometimes they say that tinctures don't hit you automatically. Depending on what you take, these plant essences can like
affect you over time.
Yeah, over like a 24-hour period, 48-hour period. Like they can basically build up in your body, so you need to take more of them. So the tinctures like hit Jenny personally more than me, but like, you know, I had taken another one after Rose.
I don't honestly think you're telling the extreme of how trippy I felt. Like we were talking and out of nowhere, my talking got speedy. And then I just was tripping balls. Literally like trees, magic, car ride. Like what the F did we take the day before? But we do have a third theory.
Yes, we do.
Which is the most outrageous one.
It's the most outrageous. It's the most outrageous, but it's honestly the one that we like clung to a little bit because we were super nervous. And again, this is so out of our comfort zone and everything. But we think potentially there had been like a spell cast on us. Because we think, and it was not accurate, and like even putting out in the world, like we never would have done this. But we think the woman that was like doing her like
thought we were laughing
at her. In which case, we would have been deserving of a spell if we were being mean. But we were not doing that, and because we were laughing and having a good time, and like the heightened chanting got louder and angrier as we were laughing. Like I don't think she was offended that we were having fun. I think she might have thought that we were laughing at her, not completely separate, and so. The third option is that we had a spell put on us, in which case we started tripping.
Which is obviously
and like,
a logical conclusion.
Well, and then me and Jenny had to like read like how to like get a spell taken off of us. And again, it's just so like not normal for us. Like it was we didn't even know what you're supposed to do. We're like trying to like we're reading like sage. Let's sage each other. Like what did we do? Palo Santo, which again was new to us. We're like, all right. So to this day, we're not really sure, but it did open the door to tinctures, and it's been something we've been very intrigued by.
Right. And admittedly, the part that we're interested in isn't to feel trippy again, by the way. We've heard enough now along the way that they're just a nice supplement like vitamins, just for the record. But anyway, we could not bring up the subject without you hearing our wild story, even before we started adventuring.
Right.
So who knows, guys? You can tell us what you think. But now we're into testing them. So recently, we're like, okay, let's circle back to this. We keep reading about them. And so you had actually heard a podcast where someone was talking about mint and how mint is a wonderful tincture to take. It increases abundance in your life and manifestation. Yes. It balances you and all the things we already know mint does. Anyway, I mean, it freshens breath and all the other things.
Right. It helps like your stomach. Yeah.
Exactly. So you had learned about that and we're like, oh, that seems a lot more calm than tripping face.
Right.
So let's try it, right?
Yes.
So you found one, you researced like
I heard this woman on a podcast and she seemed really good. Yeah. So we bought her tincture and we started taking it. And again, it was all about like abundance. And we both started taking it daily. And I mean, coincidence or not, there's no coincidences. No. But after I started taking it, like a week and a half later, I got a raise. And like you were like so like, I mean, you've been so busy with work. I've been so busy with work. And we feel like there's abundance coming to us. So we're like, I mean, we don't know if it's to the reason, who actually knows. But we're intrigued enough to continue doing it and wanting to know like what else is out there. Yes. And like what other tinctures might be available. And like, just to kind of go back for those people who don't know, a tincture is just a concentrated liquid herbal extract made from plants and used as herbal medicine. So it's just basically medicine of some sort. I'm putting it in quotes because it's not like doctor prescribed medicine.
Right, not FDA.
Yeah, it's not. It's like, but it's like the medicine of the earth, right? And like there is, auras of plants, and those auras are then captured, and then you take that to help increase whatever you're trying to, or draw to you whatever that plant tends to draw.
It seems almost like very just an organic situation, right? So like when you think about what they say, like the best diet to eat is eating the whole and raw foods. And it's not unlike that, where you get from plants and flowers, and it seems like it would relate to each other, the sun energy and the soil energy, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting the sun and the earth, and that's a part of it, right?
Right.
And then each flower has its own demeanor or personality, even how it shows itself in beauty and foliage, right? So each of it has its essence, that's both sun, earth, and then its personality trait. And so the people that are picking it for these personality traits. So each herbal, like if you ever look them up online, which if you're interested, that's why we're talking about it, go look them up. They have very good descriptions of this plant's for this and this plant's for this.
Right.
So it's really kind of fun. Like if you want to go look and you're like, oh, I'm stressed at work a lot, there are certain plants that are good for stress.
Right.
So we went ahead and looked up some really fun outcomes to get from flowers, right? So we didn't look up your ordinary ones, like what will just make a fever go away, which by the way is feverfew, but we wanted to have some happy outcomes that are a little bit on the woo-woo side. So we're going to share a list right now of flowers that elicit cool reactions.
Right. And we can't speak to these because we haven't tried them, but they're definitely piquing our interest.
Yes.
And I'm very excited. And if we can pick a few, maybe you and I can try them and report back if we think that they work. So the first thing that I found, which, I talk about dreams all the time, and a plant that apparently can help you access your dreams, remember your dreams, and get more visions and messages from your dreams is mugwort.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know what mugwort is. I think it must be a plant, but apparently the essence, yeah. Well, I didn't know if it's like a flower. It's a plant. Okay, so that's my first one that I was like, all right, mugwort sounds all right.
Okay, so we always talk about you in dreams, so that's kind of cool if it's enhancing it. Well, two of mine, I'm gonna knock two off the list. I'm always looking to expand my intuition. We found out tuberose is good for that. And the other thing was to increase psychic ability, and black iris is good for that.
Okay, those are really good ones. I'm into that. So on my list, jumping back to another good one for me is connection to ancestors. Mm-hmm. So this one was about, apparently it can help you just feel connected as much as also, again, being able to speak and get messages. Again, it's all about the messaging. So this one was just marigold.
Okay.
Which is, I feel like
one.
I see marigolds all the time.
Okay.
And to know that is offering such a...
Well, you want to know what's really cool about this whole subject in general? It makes me look at flowers on my walk differently since we've gotten into it. Like I look at these special little flowers and I'm like, oh, you're not just a weed or you're not just a flower in my neighbor's yard, but you have a cool energy to you. It makes me look at it different.
Okay. So I love that you're saying that, because one of the things that I've been reading about and it's coming up a lot lately is the earth grid and how everything is connected. And there are people out there that actually say they can see the connection through plants and earth and people, and just see the connections through all the plants. So I think that is so neat. And I agree with the tinctures. I'm looking at things so differently. And I've been obsessed with this idea that everything has this spirit and this essence. And I found a tincture or a essence that's supposed to help you be able to connect better to that earth grid.
Ooh.
And to see kind of...
Which one is that?
It's called Nasterium.
Nasterium.
Okay, see how much I know.
I'm a future gardener.
Yeah,
so
well, you are a future gardener. So so I don't know if is that a flower?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
So that apparently can help you connect to that earth grid. And so as you're looking at plants, I feel like if you take that one, you look at plants even more differently.
I love that. I need that. I want to go for a walk and try that one.
Yeah.
Go in the woods. That's really cool. Yeah. All right. So one of mine that I always am looking for is to calm me, chill, relax. And I love the flower. This was the Meyer lemon flower. So that one helps you chill and relax. And then one of our other really woo-woo ones, a subject that you and I are so curious, bookmark for a future episode, is Kundalini energy and increasing it. It's the flow of the universe, the energy of the earth. It's a billion things that I don't understand, but I want to. And that's the passion flower. So that's something that we want to look into at some point.
Which makes sense, that Kundalini energy is like passion flower. That's what we hear. It's all connected to passion.
But this list, honestly, we could have gone on and on and on. There are so many tinctures for different purposes, and it's for you to find.
Yeah.
You could go out. We're very specifically not giving one vendor because we need to experience and test, and not being FDA approved. We kind of want you to find it on your own, but at least we'll give you a starter of flowers to look into. But we'd love to hear if you take tinctures. Have you tried them? How did they work? Like for me, tinctures is a little bit of a who knows?
Yeah.
Is it snake oil? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're always willing to try something.
Yeah. Well, and I like, look, as we have investigated this, I like that one of the things that makes me believe it could be real,
right,
is that, you know, some of these flowers like attract the life force, and that's
yes,
the same thing it can do for you. Like some of them like repel bugs, and those are the ones that repel bad energy.
Oh, that's
so like there's like really interesting, if you look at like what some of these flowers do and you read more about them, you see that what they're doing in nature is what it will do to you.
Right.
And so like when I it's opening my eyes a lot more to this. And obviously our experience at our little retreat definitely like made us think like, wow, this can have an impact on you. But I feel like long term, if it like builds upon itself and you really take in that essence of either, again, attracting or repelling what you want or don't want in your life, I think a plant should be able to offer that. So I'm going to try some of these, but I feel like I could become a real believer in this.
I like that, because I think this is one that I kind of hesitate towards, of like, is this real? Is this not?
Especially after you tripped out.
I did kind of, which also made me wonder if it was a tincture or was it something else. As you know, it could be a million things.
You guys tell us.
We're still.
You tell us.
We don't know how that went.
Was it?
But the way I like what you said is just so simple, to go in with the belief side and not the disbelief side. Is why wouldn't these do something for us? Medicine does something for us. Doctors research it, they develop it, they figure it out. Why wouldn't nature, just in its purest form, be able to do exactly what it does in nature? I think that's a really cool approach that allows me to be a little more open-minded. So I'm going to ask you a question. What on this list are you going to try that we just talked about? Which one do you want to try?
Well, I think I would try the tuberose to expand my intuition.
All right.
I feel like that's something that, you know, we're talking about on this podcast. You and I are so into doing that and being more connected. And that sounds like, while it expands your intuition, it does connect you, which is what I want. So I feel like I would try that one.
I'm with you on that one. And I'd add the psychic abilities to it too.
Yes.
And just do kind of a duo. Let's see.
Yeah. And then obviously connecting to the plants. I like that.
Yeah.
That one that you said I didn't know how to say.
That we'll go for a nice summer walk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here is a subject that is strange and bizarre, but maybe also not. And maybe it's organic and we just need to give it a go.
That was kicked off by something that happened to us years ago and at our witch retreat.
A witch retreat.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. We've loved being your spiritual travel guides and hope this made you feel more connected. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast player. Your reviews help us create the guide that you are looking for. We'd also love to hear your stories. You could follow and share your experiences with us on Instagram at So Guided Podcast. Your story might just be our next weekly woo-woo. Join us again next week as we continue to dig deeper into the universe. And remember, stay curious, ask the questions. You are so guided.